I'd like to call to order Schenectady City Council Committee meeting for Monday, October 20th, 2025. Let's see, Mr. Hurley, so, who else is on public safety? Okay. Who's on government else? Okay. I'd like to call to order public safety.
So I'd like to call to order public safety. We have two items on the agenda tonight. First is, which is the discussion regarding the installation of stop signs on a trial basis at problematic locations. Mr. Farley.
Thank you, Chairman. So we talked about this multiple times as far as, you know, the concerns that we're hearing from residents. There's been some data collected and presented to us at multiple meetings. And the thought here is, how do we respond in a way that helps improve the quality of life of what people are presenting, but also allows us to operate within the parameters that we need to operate as a body. So at this point, if we, the idea about doing the installation of stop signs on a trial basis is to put forth the intervention, then collect some data around the intervention, and then if the data supports leaving the stop sign in place, and if the data doesn't support it, then we remove the stop sign. That's the thought here.
Any questions, comments? Yes, we're good.
Well, I think we need to identify what we're talking about. If you're saying, you said locations plural, but are we talking about something specific?
So yeah, so right now I'm talking about Kings Road. I'm sorry, let me look at originally it was Kings Road. However, but due to the curve of the street, that doesn't look like that's going to be the most ideal place for a stop sign. But I do want to be clear that even though we're talking about this specific location, the practice itself is something that I think that we should be open to as a council, because there are other, problematic places in the city where residents are reporting that it's not safe yet. So I guess the first question would be like, what are we as a council going to require in order to take action on something like this? And can we operationalize it in a way that the citizens know, okay, if we provide this level of data and this action, maybe like a petition, which there's been a petition for people in the neighborhood who have signed requesting a stop sign. I think that those are the questions that we need to answer as a council. Like, what's the level of information that we need in order to take action on this? Because we've constantly heard people talking about Kings Road in particularly, and there's been a petition, and there's been, I was at the neighborhood association meeting where they were presenting some videos and pictures, so there's lots of data, and Mr. Toro was at that meeting as well. And this initially, there was one resident who was kind of spearheading this, but after attending that meeting and responding to the other ways people were reaching out, contacted, it seems to be a larger issue than even impacting just one of the residents. Even though, depending on the situation, one resident is enough. Mr. Toro, did you want to talk a little bit about what you heard at the meeting when we were at the meeting? I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry, Mr. Williams.
So, Mr. Toro would like to respond.
She was giving me the nod, so that's what I was like.
Thank you. So anyway, we've been dealing with Tracy since for many years now. Mr. Collins has been coming to committee meetings and council meetings and sending emails and all kinds of data on his own. We've done a lot on Kings Road with crosswalk. What do you call those things? Guardrails.
Yeah.
Mr. Collins has put up rocks himself to prevent anything from happening. There's been, by our engineering department and Mr. Mastriani, there's been all kinds of traffic studies, and still, people continue. Just recently, even on a motorcycle going 60 miles an hour outbound Kings Road the other day. Enforcement, there's been all kinds of enforcement that Lieutenant Dalton has placed up there. He's been a good resource to work with recently. But I think Kings Road, there's definitely something that we need to do. And there were some petitions put out. They were told that, to have everybody sign petitions, and they don't quite qualify to be put in for a stop sign. And us as the legislative body, I mean, everything is kind of really up to us. So as far as if we want petitions in and we would, decide on that. But we also have to be careful because this is definitely a dangerous road and a dangerous situation. I mean, I can get everybody on my street or part of Wendell to sign a petition because people are up and down at 100 miles an hour, not stopping at stop signs. So that's why we do defer to Mr. Our city engineer and Mr. Mastriani, but at this point, I think it's an overall safety concern for the residents of Kings Road specifically.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, can we bring up Mr. Walling so that we can ask him some direct question in terms of that Kings Road and other hotspot across the city where signs were placed?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Wallen, and now this is coming up. I don't think there was any hesitation in proceeding with this. I was just wanting to have the conversation with Mr. Wallen to understand what impacts this decision can have in the surrounding areas. So, Mr. Wallen, I'm pretty sure you're brought up to speed. I think at this point, it's specifically speaking to Kings Road and throughout the city on a larger standpoint, how would we enforce this moving forward?
All right. First, literature, just keep it. All right. That is information about stop signs, what a stop sign is, how a stop sign goes in, and just a little bit of information about stop signs. So, what is the question that you're asking me?
When the study was done, the traffic study was done there for Kings Road, was there any recommendation in terms of stop sign?
No.
Is there a reason why that was not?
It did not meet the warrants that are in your package on page 4. You'll see that it's A, B, C, D, and E. And then the warrants are outweighed on page 5. But it didn't at the time. It's not to say that things haven't changed. When we did the study, we were also doing a study for lowering the speed limit to 25. And council's opinion at the time was, let's lower the speed limit to 25, continue with our enforcement, and measure the results. So we've lowered the speed limit to 25, and someone drove a motorcycle at 60 miles an hour. So clearly we need to put stop signs up to control the speed on Kings Road, which is not quite what this says, but it's okay. Yes, I can't call it, I'm sorry.
Ms. Patrick?
It was my understanding that stop signs are not necessarily a traffic calming measure. I mean,
Correct.
Obviously, if they stop, which is a whole other question, since we see that people are going through red lights like crazy all around the city. But I just the research that I had done on traffic calming measures, stop signs weren't necessarily something that was going to slow people down. They could stop, but then they'll start speeding again.
So,
and by the way, I'm in favor of doing whatever we can to try to ease the speeding on Kings Road.
I have also been working with Mr. Collins for a long time and the council for a long time,
Yes.
and I appreciate everything that he brings to the table. What I also have to make sure is that any decisions at this table that we were made for one situation do not come back to this table with 13 more situations. And we do not have this conversation for more years about 13 situations that are brought up by other residents of the city. So just to show you what I passed out, this book right here, which I have, this is essentially a traffic signal handbook. It's made by the New York State's federal assistance program called Cornell Local Roads. So they put this together called the LTAP and on page 2, it's kind of like a handbook for the municipalities to cut through, because this one is the federal one. This one's like 350 pages. That's huge. This one is the first one. So the things that I highlighted, I could have highlighted the whole section, but essentially where it says, stop signs should not be used for speed control. There is some evidence that frequent stop signs may actually increase traffic speed between the signs. And on roads with high traffic volume, stop signs may also increase the number of rear-end collisions. So one of my apprehensions with a stop sign on Kings Road, not at Queen Philomena, because I understand why not at Queen Philomena due to the curve, is that we put a stop sign, 2 stop signs on either side of Queen Philomena. Now you have someone that will stop. Are they going to speed up to make up the time they lost between the stop signs or after the stop sign? And now we're going to see it, all right? Not to put Mr. Williams on the spot, but we talked about a stop sign that went on Front Street and his observations of the stop sign on Front Street. And his observations were people were not stopping at the stop sign on Front Street. And people were rolling through the stop sign on Front Street because they don't like the stop sign on Front Street. So once again, if that begins to happen on Kings Road, the same enforcement that wasn't happening on Kings Road for the speed needs to be there to stop you from rolling through the stop sign. So I don't know if we're addressing the problem or if we're addressing something else. I don't know. But I just wanted to hand these out because I just thought it would be useful to show what we have and what kind of I also, and this is not, I like that we're brainstorming ideas. Putting stop signs up on a mitigation temporary measure, not recommended. Because you kind of remember where a stop sign is. I grew up on Parkwood and Glenwood. I lived there for 30 years. I still sometimes forget where the stop sign is. Was it at Parkwood or was it at Glenwood? And I have to stop. You see people all the time, they stop at one street and then realize it's on the next one. So if we put a stop sign up for 30 days and then we say, you know what, we don't need it, and you remove it, you're gonna get that. Was the stop sign here? Was it not here? And if you leave it, you do the warrants, you figure out if it's needed, and you put it up. I don't think I can recommend that we start using them as some kind of like a demonstration project to just put them up and take them down, just because I feel like that will create driver confusion. And I've never really seen that in any of the manuals, putting stop signs up as a mitigation measure.
So, so have we ever removed stop signs in Schenectady? Have we, the places that we removed stop signs?
I removed 1 stop sign on Wendell.
Okay.
And I have not stopped hearing about it since I've done it.
Okay.
That's the only one. And they're asking for put it back, so we are looking at reconfiguring. And but to be fair, and I've said it, the issue was bushes. Yes. I would rather, as the city engineer, come to you and change the city code to say that if you have an obstruction that prevents you from seeing the roadway, that the city is within its rights to remove the obstruction. That's the right way to do it. The other way to do it is to put more stop signs up. But we're looking into what the right way to do it and what the way we're going to do it is, because bushes are bushes.
Mr. Torre?
Thank you. So as far as Kings Road goes,
Yep.
One of your thoughts, I believe, was the fact that there's going to be an apartment building somewhere in there, which is going to increase the traffic more, and also the storage unit at the end of the road, which might kind of warrant even further study of.
And the park building supply is being redeveloped, and that's coming to planning, I believe, very soon. So there is development in the area that we're looking at to see what mitigation measures that we would have to do.
And the second part is just, in speaking with you also, there are things like Wendell Avenue, Rugby Road that you're considering next year looking into, not the 13 we might bring forward to you.
Correct.
So,
I understand, but Rugby Road is another one where when Vanna sent an email about it, right? I grew up off of Rugby Road. That's my neighborhood, right? There's always been one, and now it's Glenwood and Waverly and Phoenix. So now we're asking to put three more up on Rugby Road, and for the last 50 years there's been one. And once again, that seems like a big request to be made for no data. And once again, I don't understand quite the purpose of it. I like to work with Lieutenant Dalton. He's been great on giving data about what's going on. Like I will, let you, behind the scenes with, we've got inquiries on Wright and Eastern. Wright and Eastern, met a lot of these warrants. When we put all the traffic data together, the speed data together, it met a lot of warrants. And so you may see changes at Brighton and Easter next year. But when they don't, I don't know if we should force it.
So before, Mr. Raymond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there's different issues. One, there's ability to cross the street, being able to integrate traffic from opposite directions, cross directions. The ability to control speed, the technology is out there today. The state legislature is not moving in a manner that really allows us to implement that. We last year, or this year, and started last year, put it in this year, requested home rule to put in the speed cameras for school zones. That has passed the legislature, and I would anticipate the governor is going to sign it sometime before the end of the year. And in fact, in my budget, which we might talk about a little bit later, I make some assumptions for revenue in that. The problem is that it's only allowed in school zones, which, you know, and there's an emotional component of that. You want to protect kids, you want to make sure there's an extra level of safety. But as we all go throughout the community, you know there's other areas where speeding is a bigger issue. And a lot of times stop sign comes up as the manner to regulate the speeding. And it's education, because most people at those intersections on those sections of road are compliant. And I think as the numbers come in where we've worked together, the council lowered the speed limit to 25 miles an hour. We're seeing some results for that. But if we had the ability to take those cameras and move them in an area where speed is an issue, we get higher levels of compliance. And again, today with a speeding ticket, it's expensive for somebody to do that. You got to go to court, you got to probably get a lawyer, back and forth. The speeding tickets that are issued in the school zones, it's photographing the license plate, it's the vehicle. It's really equivalent of a parking ticket. So it gets your attention. Yes, you're going to have to pay some fine. But where it's been done in Albany, they have seen a high level of compliance in terms of speeding. I think we're going to see that in sections of Schenectady too, where we're able to deploy them in the school zones. And if the state legislature would listen to some of the people in the neighborhoods in Schenectady and other communities across the state, where you could put these speed cameras in place, it would allow municipalities to manage the problem. I believe get results, you get some revenue from it. You don't have to deploy police for, don't take this wrong, they're highly trained, highly equipped, expensive employees doing things that can be automated now. And so we're talking about a stop sign here in Kings Road. There's a couple other locations that Mr. Wallen has talked about. And we all know that we can pick out different things in Bellevue, some in Central State. They're all valid issues. But what's the cost-effective way to get the compliance? The component of education where drivers, they know what they should be doing, they choose not to. You don't want the motorcycles going down the street at 60 miles an hour, or the big heavy trucks pushing the limit. And if we could automate that, where you're sending out a ticket, you're getting their attention, you're getting compliance, I believe it really works for everybody and is really the long-term solution that'll improve the quality of life not only in Schenectady but other communities across the state.
I agree. So I'll get to Mr. Patrick, but I wanted to share my comments. I agree. Leveraging technology, I think, is the next step in how municipalities govern. I would like to put on record that Albany hasn't had the most easygoing time with it, because there are some drawbacks and some unadverse reactions with using greater technology, specifically in the school zones. But what I want to add to your point, Mr. Wallen, of why are we doing this, how I interpreted this legislative item from Mr. Farley is, how do we respond to a community that continues to say that our justification for not acting in a manner that they're recommending is for due reason while they're still living with this burden at their doorstep, sincerely at their doorstep. So I think in regards to this, how I would differentiate it from other areas of the city that are asking for stop signs is the gravity, the level that we've continued to hear from individuals from Kings Road, the inclusion of a petition, the fact that we've done a traffic study, and their presence has only increased over the years, because this has been something that I've just come to expect, Mr. Collins' presence at our meetings. I think that warrants us, to lack of better words, appeasing. And my fear is if we continue to respond with a no, this is not justified, no, this is not justified, and your reasoning makes it truly, it's valid, I think we then lose members of our community. And I think in these interests, what is the cost of us putting out this good faith attempt of this could have a bona fide impact? I'm in agreement that without enforcement, truly, it is a suggestion. I agree with education, but sincerely, I think if members of our community lack faith in our responsiveness and adjustments of where we are, I think that is a greater burden on where we are. So I want to allow Mr. Farley to speak, but that's how I interpret it. I think it is worth the effort with Kings Road, and then thereafter, how do we structure and formalize this process so that other areas of the city feel like they're doing those proper considerations also. Mr. Farley?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. So to be clear, I think the first, there's a couple questions that I need to answer here. And I can understand that there might be, we did lower the speed limit to 25, but I didn't bring this forward because the motorcycle went 60 miles an hour. I mean, that's a very oversimplification of why I bring this forward. The reason why I'm bringing this forward is for all the reasons that Mr. Williams had and all the reasons that we know that this has been a consistent issue, and I don't think that people give this level of time and attention to a matter that isn't greatly impacting them. And I think that we have an obligation to make that distinction, to say, of all the reasons, the data, the pictures, Mr. Collins coming in, not just speaking for Mr. Collins, but representing a larger collective voice in that area. So for those reasons is why I'm suggesting that we do this. My question is, if we think that this is something that's going to make this more unsafe, which I have a limited scope on that. I couldn't see how it could make it more unsafe, but if you're saying that it potentially could, then it potentially could. I guess my question now is that we have had stop signs places, they have been removed. We have put up stop signs places where they once were not there. So I'm saying, like, looking at this through that lens of, is this a good fit as a council? Then how do we operationalize what happens, what needs to come before us before we can say, okay, let's try this intervention, is what I'm trying to figure out, number one. And then number two is this a good area to pilot the stop sign, temporary stop sign thing? And again, I'm not saying put it up for a month and take it down. Mm-hmm. What I'm suggesting and looking for thought partners on this is that if we put it up and then the data that we are listening to saying, oh, well, things are better, things are calm, then okay, we justify, and there's no increase of accidents, so on and so forth, mm-hmm. Then yeah, we leave it. If not, then we don't. So that's where I'm trying. I mean, I think that there's a response here, and I think that everyone, caution speaking for other members of council, but what I'm gathering is that we all think that, okay, something needs to be done. Is this the right thing to do? And I'm just saying this has been something that we've been talking about for a long time, and I suggest that we take a step and see what happens and see if it's the right thing. That's where I'm at. Thank you, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you. I think one thing I wanted to ask Mr. Wallen is whether we could do a temporary stop sign, one of those portable ones, and I think Mr. Fowler just alluded to that as well. I also plan to have Lieutenant Dalton come, and hopefully with Mr. Walling. The last time I met with Lieutenant Dalton, we didn't feel like we had enough data. He wanted a few more months of data to really show the difference. At the time that I met with him, we were down 14% in accidents since we lowered the speed limit. But again, you don't know if that's, cause and effect. I mean, we're kind of, supposing that, but that's not necessarily something that we can prove. So I was waiting a few weeks to put in the legislative request to have Lieutenant Dalton come, but that's still on my agenda. But I think a temporary stop sign, one of those flashing, I think we did it near the school, near the high school at one point, but that might be something to suggest. I absolutely think, and Mr. Wallen has spoken to us about this over and over again, that those 3 E's of engineering, education, and enforcement come into play in all of these situations. And I think, and the mayor alluded to it too, the thing that I have found in the few years of trying to move forward with some of these items is that it is the education piece. It is the behavioral change that is definitely the stumper. And we did, the AAA is still offering the defensive driving class at a reduced rate, which was the only thing that I could come up with on my own feeble mind of one creative solution to education. I think we have to continue to get the word out. I think we, whatever kind of public relations, public PSA kind of campaign, but I also think the enforcement piece is critical. I don't know. I mean, if somebody gets a ticket, will they change? I don't know. If they get, I don't know how many tickets it is before they have a worse.
Hopefully they just get one and here's all the problem.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but so I do think that that's important too. But I guess we have to see how it. We've heard this. I mean, on a priority level for our police department, it's going to be like the 3rd priority in their work situation. So if we wanted to have more officers that were just on traffic, that's going to have an impact on the budget. But that is obviously another solution. I don't know if we can use retired police. I'm not sure of the, legality of, can somebody like that enforce or give a ticket kind of thing. But there are other situations. But the immediate issue before us, Kings Road, I say, I'm asking Mr. Wallen, can we put up a temporary stop sign, measure the results, see if it, what it does, and take it from there.
We said time and time again that we can, it's just should we at this point. Mr. Rivera and Ms. Porterfield.
Thank you. I was going to suggest the same, if we can install a temporary sign there, let's collect some data and then look at if the data is kind of like pushing towards a permanent sign, then let's do it. But at this time, we should do a temporary and work towards the data and let's drive towards installing a permanent sign there if the needs are there. Just a follow-up in terms of, I know last year or the year before, you did install several signs at hot spots, those flashing signs, stop signs. Do you have any feedback in regards to those signs?
Yeah, actually, I don't install the signs or monitor. It's actually Brian Cannon.
But you were the driver behind it. Canyon.
A little. But I mean, they've been received well.
Okay.
Some of the guidelines you'll see about those are they'll recommend that they don't stay there forever because they're more for like in this situation, right? New stop sign, you're trying to gain attention and that maybe they would go. But they have been received very well. I would say that if there was only one that would come to mind to leave forever would be at Gulf Road where intersects Fair, just because that's a T intersection. There are a lot of T intersections where you would run through and then go into essentially a wetland, so that's one. But I don't know if we have any temporary ones. I'd have to ask Brian about what we have.
You have
for the
McCullough and the Plaza also there.
Yep. No, I know where they are. What I was getting at is like those kind of locations. I think the idea was they weren't meant to be a permanent fixture, but they are well received. But just like anything else, I want to make sure that we use them where it's necessary, so we don't just have a city full of LED blinking stop signs. One of the things is we have tried, and it's also another thing that they say that sometimes you want to is if you drive down Eastern, we have some as they're called flare strips. So the stop sign, and then we have a strip, and it's vertical. And that idea is when you come, it's a little bit more retro-reflective, and you go, okay, there's something there to try to get you. That's something that's a little bit more affordable and implementable that we're putting out, because we do take all this as seriously as we can.
Do you have any those electronic stop sign?
That's what I'll find out.
Find out.
Yes, I'll find out.
Ms. Brookfield?
So just to be clear, so today your ask is, are we going to do this or not? Because,
Yes.
so we've had a lot of discussion. Mr. Wallen's given him his input, so I think we need to
Okay.
move forward if we're going to, or...
I agree, Mr. Toro.
Thank you, but you don't recommend these stop signs being temporary. I suggest we just put a permanent ones there right now. I mean, how are we going to collect this data?
So, so for that, so for clarity again, the stop sign itself isn't temporary. What it is that we put the stop sign up with the idea that if it does not have its intended effect, then you would take the stop sign down, because there wouldn't be a reason to leave a stop sign up if it wasn't having the intended effect. That's why we're using temporary in that context, for clarity.
I don't think we should ever take them back down. You've only ever taken one down. I think Kings Road is deserving of it, and there should be one here and one there. I've done a map almost 4 years ago, so I trust you. I think we all trust you. If you think we should put it up and it's warranted at this time, it goes up and stays up, because I don't know where that data, how that data would be documented moving forward.
So I'd say with respect to just the conversation we've had, it's been rather lengthy, and we do have other items we need to get to. I think everyone's had the opportunity to make their opinions known, and believe that we do have consensus within the Public Safety Committee to proceed forward. So I would at this point ask if there's a motion.
A motion to install a temporary sign, collect data, bring it back to us, and then we'll look towards a permanent stop sign. Is that what?
I would just, to Mr. Toro's point, it may be 2. So signs. There are options out there for 2, and that may be the way to go. So I just want to make sure we're not pigeonholing ourselves. I'll look at the corridor. Like I said, I've been working with Lieutenant Dalton. We've been gathering information on it. He has quite a bit now, and he's just been giving me some, and we've been trying to coordinate on it. So I will meet with him and Mr. Cannon, and we will find out what we have. We also have bus routes, stops, things like that, so we can justify the locations even more.
Thank you, Mr. Wallen. So the motion would be, Mr. O'Brien.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it's a resolution authorizing the city engineer to place 2 temporary stop signs on Kings Road at designated up to two at the designations as determined by the city engineer.
Yes.
Up to 2 locations, because it's technically be 4 sites.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 locations.
We don't want to get too in the weeds on it.
No, I get it. So resolution authorizing the city engineer under Chapter 248 of the City Code to install temporary stop signs up to 2 locations as selected by the city engineer.
Yep. Mr. O'Brien.
No, I'll write you move.
So that will get
You can move it if you
I move based on.
And I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And since I have Mr. Wallen, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, we reduced the tonnage on Kings Road.
Yes.
Are there any data in terms of the usage and people being compliant in terms of the tonnage?
I don't have any. I'd probably just do an in-person survey with Mr. Collins, and I'd have to look at our optical sensors and see what they have, because we do have sensors on the corridor.
Would you mind do that for us just for data's sake? Because I received a call from someone in regards to heavy trucks and buses and things like that.
On the corridor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallen. The second item for discussion is the changing Front Street to a one-way on Ms. Porterfield.
Okay, thank you very much. So you all have the legislative request in front of you. We've heard from a couple of residents down on Front Street regarding changing the signage to one-way because of the traffic that's going on there and how it's impacting their quality of life. In addition to that, there has, speaking of stop signs, been a stop sign that has been placed, a couple of them actually, I believe, that have been placed that residents feel have made the situation worse, as opposed to making the situation better. You have in your packet, you've received emails, but they're also in your packet as well regarding that. So I've asked Mr. Wallen to speak to us regarding what that looks like if we were to consider changing that to one-way.
So I put together a very elementary sketch, just because I didn't have a lot of time and I didn't need one. So there's 4 for you.
One, 2 for you. Mayor, do you have it, or do you still have it? Yes. Okay. And then
I was gonna say,
So I have attended the Front Street meeting, and I've been in communication with the Front Street neighborhood about this issue for quite some time. As you're aware, Mohawk Harbor's had several developments in the area, and they always do a traffic study as part of seeker. Traffic studies have come back and said that Front Street won't be impacted, but we all know that Front Street is impacted, and we've heard that from the residents. It's not as clean cut as a solution as we would all hope. The reason being is this corridor is a multi-use corridor. It's not just residential necessarily. There are apartment buildings, and there is primarily an apartment building on Erie Boulevard owned by Mr. Fusco regarding, and when it was built and designed, the primary entrance was off of Front Street. It has a entrance off of Erie Boulevard, but it is not conducive to trucks. So all deliveries and garbage comes in and out of the Front Street entrance. Myself and I believe Mr. Toro both reached out to him. I have it in writing to him stating that he will not be able to operate his apartment complex with one-way traffic, because then his vehicles won't be, because they come from the roundabout. They don't come through the neighborhood. They leave and come from the roundabout. So looking at this, members of Monroe Street were at the meeting as well, and they were asking to change their street to reduce traffic because they didn't want traffic. So the ways to do this is if we make it one way, the one way is essentially a dam, right? People will still want to come, and then they'll run into the do not enter signs. If we put them at Monroe Street and flip Monroe Street, now everyone that's going through Front Street will use Monroe Street as their exit. And we will get people saying, my traffic on Monroe Street has quadrupled since you've done this change. So let's go and regress to the next one. The people on Monroe Street have said, if you look at a satellite or you know the street, there are approximately 20 houses on Monroe Street. There's only 3 on Jefferson. So why not put the traffic to Jefferson? So now you're putting the traffic down. You're putting the one way as it shows with my little handwriting in my circle to do not enter in Jefferson, and you're sending the traffic down Jefferson, which would then need to be flipped, because right now it goes to Front Street, it would need to be flipped to Erie Boulevard. And now all that traffic would hit that dam at Jefferson in front and take Jefferson to Erie Boulevard, where they would then go on their way to where their destination is. So you would only be left with 1 block of one way. For a similar connotation, J Street in front of the post office, that is 1 large block, but that was a one-way block with a 2-way on one side and this on the other. So there is a little precedent for this, but this is a very short block. So one of the things that may be an issue, and I hate to use the other E, is enforcement may be an issue. You may see people go, okay, this is a pretty short block, I'm just gonna go. So then the question comes out is, do we change the geometry of Front Street so that you take away that lane in front of them and you push everyone to the left if you were coming at the road? The issue with doing something like that is, well, the parking's on the left.
Yeah.
So now you have people on Front Street with less parking on the left, and on the right there's driveways. So we are not going to be able to do this without breaking some eggs. And then we can't make it one way from in front of the park down, because there's a commercial business right there that would need to be able to get in and out of their driveway. And they sometimes have a truck. I don't know if we've gotten the buses out of there or not, but I would think that they would need circulation. So that is the concept that I have for you. It's something that we could discuss publicly or not. I will of course put something together a little bit more formal if this is the way we want to go down. The only thing that I would like to point out again, for your budget hearing later, is if we want to make these formal studies with traffic counts and justifications and things like that. That's the traffic study, like line item that I had, Albany carries something like that. We don't carry a lot of money for traffic studies and for warrant research and things like that. So I just, we can do what we can, but it's just to always be cognizant of that, to see how far we want to go. But this is, like I say, just a sketch of what I believe is possible.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Any questions or comments? Ms. Patrick?
Would you say, though, that we would need the traffic study to move forward with this, given that it's just the one?
Not necessarily, but I personally would like to go out and look at that one block, and I would like to possibly propose to the point we just made about temporary measures, right? This would be one where you would put the sign up, maybe put some cones to try to make it, but the ultimate solution may be some kind of a bump out curb, so that when you're coming, you just are deterred from just going one block straight and continuing on your way. Because that's what I fear, is that it's a short block and you can see the finish line, and someone's just going to go, and we're going to get resident complaints saying people are just blowing through the sign because you can see the finish line, it's only 100 feet, and then we're getting more issues. So I think there would have to be some kind of a physical alteration to really make it effective.
Thank you, Ms. Burkett.
So your suggestion now is that you're going to go out and look and then come back to us?
Well,
But-
this is the first anyone's ever seen this, so I would prefer that it get distributed in some way, and I can email, if the council wishes, I can clean this up a little bit, right? This is just literally, I cut and pasted that table on, I drew with a marker, I did this all this afternoon. I can put something formally together and send it out to the neighborhood associations, but, I can put two options together, and one option can be to send them down Monroe, but I'm pretty sure that the people on Monroe are going to say no.
No, so I would, my suggestion would be that we would go in that direction, and then have the neighborhood association look at it. And also, to Mr. Wong's point, the people who on the street who are going to be impacted, even if they don't attend the neighborhood associations, because that happens often, that they get the information as well.
I would happen to agree. Any other questions or comments?
I agree.
And sincerely, I think this is one of the beneficial moments of justifying why the council exists. And in no way, I hope you don't perceive this as us overstepping. I think just in response to being a responsive government, I think it is taking in the information, taking in the lived experiences, and then collectively making a best path forward where the residents can be still on board with our decision making. So I would say at this point, having a recommendation for a motion to proceed with a formal document from Mr. Wong.
We don't need it.
We don't need to.
Just-
So we'll have the discussion back in 2 weeks. If there are no other items.
Do we have to have this back in 2 weeks? Why is it coming back in 2 weeks?
I guess how much time do you need to do?
I don't need any time to put the figure together, but I was going to email it out. Do we want to expect responses back from neighborhood associations in 2 weeks? So tell them that they need to have their responses back by a certain date. Is that what you're thinking?
I would agree.
Okay.
I would say the discussions I've had, I think they're all listening right now.
Okay. So send out the concepts to the neighborhood associations and put a deadline that they have to have comments back by, say, Wednesday prior to the legislative conference, so that it could be included maybe on backup.
I think that's valid.
Okay.
Any other?
Yeah.
any-
That sounds great.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Wong.
Great. So if there are no other items to fall public safety, I ask for motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
At this time, I'll call to order government operations. We have two items on the agenda. The first is Madam President, I'm going to ask that we bring the first item back, as I'm still waiting on a little bit of information that I had requested. Once I get that information, we'll be in a better position to kind of explore what the possible solutions can be.
Okay.
So moving right along to the second item is just the reminder that the amendments made to section 183-6 of the Schenectady Code, clarifying acceptable forms of identification and authorizations for business owners and operators of businesses, certificates of use applications. Public hearing will be held 10/27.
Mr. Mr. Chairman, and the council has copies of the proposed ordinance where it's adding oars between each one, and then that one line
Yes.
where it was dealing with tax ID was dropped down to an open paragraph, paragraph 7, and then that one paragraph was deleted, but it will be reserved for future use if necessary.
Thank you, Corporation Counsel, for that. So no action needed right now. So with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn government operations.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I'd like to call to order City Development and Planning. We have 8 items on the agenda. First item is the award bidding contract for the Craig Street water main replacement to Long Brothers of Companies, LLC. Mr. Wallen.
As many of you know, the city received several millions of dollars in federal funding to do a complete streets project on Craig Street, project going from Forest to Albany Street. In lieu of that project happening, we did an evaluation of all the utilities on the corridor. We videotaped the sanitary line, the storm line, and they were found to be in good condition. However, the water line is the original water line that was installed, approximately 90 years ago, and we thought that before investing $13 million in the corridor, we would replace the existing water line and any services found to be lead in the area. We put the bid out 6 weeks ago. We received numerous bids ranging from 1.4, as you see, upwards of $2 million, 2.4. The low bid is a company, DeJong Brothers. I believe I'm saying that wrong. We waited last cycle just because we wanted to do our due diligence. We did call numerous of their references, and all the references were very highly recommended. They don't do a lot of work in the Capital District. They're mostly Herkimer County area, Johnsonville, things like that. But and we are familiar with some of their employees that have come from other operations. So with that, we are comfortable recommending we go forward. I will say the caveat is, like everything else, and I'd like to put this disclaimer on, even after the council board, we will not sign any agreements, or the mayor will not sign any contracts until they have their paperwork and their affirmative action or any kind of waivers with Ron. So Ron right now is working with them, and we are trying to work to bring them up because they are a smaller business, and they do try to do as much as they can in-house, but still they have, city goals they have to meet. So I told Ron that I would tell you that this recommendation is pending that they have all of their compliance with Ron's office before we actually sign the contract.
Any questions, concerns?
I move this.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Wallen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item number 2 is a reminder of the proposed amendments to section 183-4 and 264-2 of the Schenectady City Code requiring a massage parlor to have a certificate of use and adding massage parlor to the zoning code definition. Mr. Turin.
Yes, thank you. So again, just a reminder that the public hearing will be held on October 27th. And that's it.
Okay. Item number 3 is ceremonial resolution for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. October is. I know we're getting towards the end, but still wanted to be able to get this resolution in recognition of the month and those who have survived, and also those who have been lost. So I would just like to present a ceremonial resolution for Breast Cancer Month.
I'll move it.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 4 is the discussion, the potential loss of state aid. As we all saw in the paper, there was an article regarding that it's possible because Schenectady hadn't built port facilities. There was a potential loss of $13.3 million in lost state aid. And I just really wanted to, if the mayor could just bring us up to speed of what that could mean to us, if this could possibly happen. We're in the budget season right now, how it impacts that, and what we should be doing, if anything, right now.
We're still under negotiations and discussion with that. Some of it, if you want to go into executive session, we'll brief you in some of the more intricate details.
So I think I just really would like to know if that should happen, we have a little bit over 11 million, what the impact could be on our budget. That was probably kind of more of my concern, as opposed to the negotiation, which we could do.
If you take how much money we have now, and take $13 million away from it, that's what we'll have left.
So, well, is there, okay, I read more in the paper than you're telling me right now. So, is there a consideration of where we would do this if we were going to do it?
Say that again, Madam President.
I said, is there a consideration, if we were to do it, where we would do it? And I'll let you go ahead with that part.
Well, again, we're in discussions now, so which I would say are beyond public session at this point.
All right, so I'll just, again, I'll keep going with, the newspaper said we were talking about the, I beg your pardon?
Oh, I'm sorry, ask Ted. He probably wrote it.
I read it too. Ted may have written it, I read it. That we're talking about the county building and knocking it down and all that stuff. And so for me, it's like a question of the time frame, and the time frame, and with whether that we would be able to, if the Office of Court Administrations and the Comptroller's Office would allow this kind of level of time. That's the kind of thing that I was.
When we had the last formal meeting with the Office of Court Administration, the county still was in discussions with several entities to purchase I'm making sure purchase, to lease purchase the old lottery building. They're looking to move all of the county operations there, including family court, where they were under pressure from OCA, where they were determining that the Office of Court Administrator was saying that family court didn't meet their standards. The county now has moved ahead with that, so they've entered into a more formal relationship. They're doing, I think they've gone out to bid and have some of the contracts in place so that they're 14 or 15 months down the road from where they're going to have a lease purchase of the building, and they will move all the county operations to one Broadway center, and that will include family court. That will then open up what do you do with the current county office building, where there would be scenarios where the current city court facilities could be moved or modified in some way.
So this kind of brings us into the discussion, but Ms. Barash, I know that we were looking at a tax cert on that building, so are we all through that process, or is that holding? Where are we with that? Because it certainly would impact.
One Broadway Tower,
Yes.
the tax cert is currently on hold. The petitioner may withdraw the action, but they are waiting to see if certain events are to occur in advance of that.
So, once again, Mayor, so as we move forward with the budget, we should move forward with the thought that what we currently have is money that we could use in terms of determining our budget.
It's my assumption that we'll work this out.
Okay.
Should we have
A big, Mr. Verlin? I can't hear you.
should we have a contingency for that if it doesn't? I guess I'm thinking that's something.
I would say that we could discuss that during the budget. Mr. Moody-Baron?
Yes, we can, but contingency of $13 million. That's like half of the police budget. Taking away half of the police budget. I'm just, making.
Yeah, I agree, which is what I'm saying.
But that is something of lot of concern. Yes, we can address it when we reconvene a finance committee at 7 p.m. to talk more about it. Yes.
But the mayor seems confident that we won't be in that.
Once the mayor alluded to that, they are in high-level discussion, and more likely there might be an outcome. Fingers crossed, knocking on wood, that things going to happen. We don't know. But hope and pray for the best.
Yes, well, and work towards the best.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make sure we had that discussion. I know most of it, at least I did read it in the paper, but I thought as a council we should at least have this discussion about how the impact upon the city, because, that's part of our responsibility. A great part. Item number 5, discussion, Chief Building Inspector's 911 call. Mr. Mutuvaran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had this item a couple of weeks back, but unfortunately I couldn't be in at the last meeting. And I'm happy to have it back here on the agenda for us to discuss the chief building inspector 911 call against a construction crew that was doing some work. I find this a matter of concern for our residents, that one of a high-level manager is going to that level to call 911, call the police on a construction crew when there are protocols in place that when you issue a stop order, it's a stop order. And if they're not complying, then you have the course of the law to take them and to bring them in compliance. But to take it in your own hand and then to get to the level of calling 911, identifying people's race, identifying that they belong to a certain group, and identifying that they look illegal because of a certain type of people, I find this very, very troubling in our city. That as long as I've been in this council, we have been a welcoming city, and this should not happen. And I am very saddened that I feel that nothing is getting done towards this. And it's happening because another incident happened last week at Willow Street or Willow Avenue, where the same group of inspectors went out there, did an inspection, and right after that, I showed up at the construction crew. Mayor, I have been over the time for months being alerting you to incidents about these three individuals. Over and over, I sent an email yesterday that was sent to me by a concerned resident. Why are individuals going to places that they're not supposed to go? Yes, if there are incidents where code enforcement needs to be, there's no reason why an assessment officer needs to be there. When there are like safety, fire alarm or smoke alarm or something like that. People are not feeling, they're feeling frustrated. They're feeling that this city is not welcoming them anymore. People do not want to do construction work anymore because of what's happening, intimidation, threat, all sort of things from the code enforcement office towards people. Yes, some people are doing work without a permit, and they're absolutely wrong. But doesn't mean we're going to take them through the middle. We have a process where we find them, we take them through court, and they pay their fine and move on. But what is happening there is that I feel, and what people feel, is that it is at a level where people are not trusting the city anymore. And I wanted to bring this to the council attention, and I am going to be copying the council on any and all email, text, phone call, voicemail. And I wanted the council to be aware of what's happening out there because these things need to stop. It is not the city that we want it to be. We want workers, we want managers, we want people to respect, and we want homeowners and contractors to respect. But yes, we're going to have a few that fall through the cracks. But doesn't mean that we're going to show them the level of disrespect. Because if we're going to show them the disrespect, then they're going to return that to us, or the staff, and that's where the trouble lies. So I wanted council to be aware of what's going on out there. It's not a day. Yesterday I was on a conference call with regards to the Willow Street or Willow Avenue incident with several other people. People are frustrated. What are we going to do as a city and a council to eliminate this fear from people? And Mayor, I have not been leaving you out of all these emails and things like that. I have been emailing you back and forth about things like that, and I would like you to start to address these things as a matter of concern for our residents.
Well, I take it very seriously. The incident on Eastern, we assigned staff to follow up on it. I think it was 2 days afterwards. Again, I had asked you for specific information on things that had happened in Mount Pleasant and other things. Those didn't forward anything to me until a week ago, Tuesday, just before this meeting. I received some audio files and other things which have been forwarded to staff to do follow-up on. I take those things seriously. We do follow up on them and expect staff to have and function with a higher level of respect within the community. So if there are specific things out there, I want to deal with it. Again, last meeting you talked about you want to have meetings with it. The last meeting had an individual who was on Foster Avenue had issues. We brought everybody in, and they were really at fault on their stuff. They weren't doing things the way they should. I told you, I need the addresses so that I can do the research on it, to be prepared. If people want to meet, I'm more than willing to do that, go out in the field. But again, we want the standards held, the staff held to the high standards so that builds a level of confidence in the community.
Mayor, all the information that I provide you has the address, detailed information, and the council can look at a couple of emails that I included, come from their detailed information in terms of address, people phone number, people email address. The video was sent to you 2 weeks ago, before the last cycle, when I was absent. And those are 4 videos. When I send you something, they do have the specific address or the personal contact information and things like that. The Foster Avenue, yeah, we met with the individual here, but that's a city house that we sold to this individual. We sold this house to the individual. They were told by the building inspector that the house is structurally unsound, and he suggested them that they should take the house down. How we as a council sold this house to these very same people, and now we're suggesting to them to take the house down. Then we fail those people. We should pay them back we should pay them back, or refund their money, not put them through that. And then they tried everything they can within their capacity to work and to be able to stabilize that building. The chief building inspector with the officer went out there and they inspected the building. They did not identify what exactly the problem. Even the chief building inspector identified that, and we asked him to put a report together and identify to them where exactly they are doing something wrong. The engineer report is telling that, he's saying something else. So these are long, drawn-out problems. We've been meeting over a year and a half ago. This room was packed a year and a half ago with individuals with concern. Homeowners, contractors concerned about issues, concerned about treatment from code enforcement, from the assessment office, one officer from the assessment office, as to the capacity that office is using to enter people's building. I told you about that also in terms of bullying, when the officers from assessment is not getting into people's building. She's making calls to the police department to intimidate people so that she can get involved. I brought that up to your attention with our discussion. So these are things ongoing in my discussion. My discussion has been open with you, Mayor, about things that are happening there. It is time that the council knows what's going on in terms of, it is time that we put a stop to this. It is not right out there what is happening to our people. We're losing people who want to do construction work out here. People are afraid to do work because of 2 staff in the code enforcement office and 1 staff in the assessment office.
So let me just say, first of all, I think that we can actually look at this. This includes 2 things specifically, in my opinion. Code enforcement, we understand they have a job to do, and our expectation is they'll do the job according to the code and won't treat people from certain communities differently than people from other communities. I also see it based on the phone call that was made, which we all heard, that it comes to more than that. It comes to the level of prejudice and discrimination against people other than someone who looks like them, perhaps. In this case, we're talking about our building inspector, because the calls that he made specific comments about what they looked like, they looked illegal because they had melanin in their skin. So I see that we need to address this on 2 fronts. There needs to be a level of training or expectation, or at least something has to happen when people are in leadership roles and beyond leadership roles. In terms of, we live in a very diverse community. Schenectady is just probably one of the most diverse communities around here. So we can't not have people who are in leadership roles who feel like they can discriminate just because someone they don't feel like is the same as them or belongs to a certain group. So I feel like we need to do 2 things, Mr. Winterbaron. We need to look at what's happening in terms of code enforcement overall, and is there a differentiate? Are people being treated differently that are not from certain communities? And for those, to what the mayor's point that he was making, is that if people aren't following the code properly, and they need to get their permits and all of that. Everyone should be held to that standard, and I think there's no argument with that. However, people should not be treated differently, and the police called, and then law enforcement that would, if it so happened they were undocumented, would come and get them, or for someone to even make that assumption to make that phone call. I don't believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that that's something that is recommended that we do, or I don't even know how he came to that conclusion. So I think I feel like we definitely need to address the code enforcement issues, and we also need to address the level of discrimination that this particular instance, and maybe others like it that we're not aware of, were treated with. So I think we should address all of that. It's something that it happened both in one situation, but I feel like it's existing out there, and this is it just came forward and got recorded this particular time. It's my feeling that perhaps it's not the first time someone's been treated poorly because of their ethnicity. So, at this point, so Mr.
Just to follow up, what are you suggesting that we do as a council?
Well, as a council, I think we have to follow up on all of them, on all the complaints, but we have to know about all the complaints. And so, and again, the mayor said this time and time again, it's up to him to deal with his staff. So that is something that we would have to turn over to mayor in terms of that. But we would want to know what would happen, because we are not in charge of staff. You know, it's up to
and it's the reason why I started to copy the entire council on all my correspondence with the mayor in terms of code enforcement and assessment. All those emails, all those videos, any audio, any text, council will be copied going forward. And I started that a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I think, yes.
Mr. Farley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam President, a couple things. You know, this brings me back to maybe I believe it was last year when I was at the table and I was saying this is why we need to have the appropriate training to minimize the likelihood of these type of things happening. None of us at this table, none of our employees, none of us in the city are above making a bad decision based on our own bias and or prejudice, and if we do not invest in ensuring that people are able to recognize that, and then this is, you know, it's a far more likely outcome. I think that this is something that is really speaks to the culture, is that we need to address this culturally. I don't think that this is just an interpersonal thing. This is something that we need to address on an institutional level. So I think we have that like universal precaution, you know, training and making people aware of things. As far as what happens, you know, with individuals, I understand that is, you know, within the purview of the mayor. But I'm very concerned to hear that, Ms. Mudvarian, and I'm sorry if I missed this part, that we went to a work site, and then soon after that, then ICE actually arrived to the work site?
Yes.
You know, I think there's a couple things. It's very layered here, but minimum, we need to make sure that we have people trained at the appropriate level, and we have zero tolerance for racism, and as it permeates through any department in the city. But part of that is that we have to hold ourselves accountable to make sure people have the appropriate level of training, and I'm deeply concerned that this is something that happened. Yeah. So I would suggest that we at least do that.
So, and just to add to your point, yes, I mean, some of the individual, not everyone, we have good staff, wonderful staff, wonderful department heads. And I can tell you for the last year and a half, I've been complaining to the mayor about 3 individuals, not everybody else. People are so talking good about other departments. I am even talking about the other department, how they're treating people. But when we lack a good customer service in the assessment office and code enforcement, people does not want to come to City Hall to do business. And that's what I'm hearing all the time. When they come there, they're treated so bad that they're talked down. It reminds me of back in 2008 of the treatment that people used to get at City Hall. All that was diminished. We lost all of that a year and a half ago. And I think drastic measure needs to be put in place so all these can go away. The staff needs to go on training, as Farley recommend, suggest. And I think they need some training. Or they needs to be let go if they can, because people needs to be treated fairly. And I want to make it very clear, I'm not advocating for the people who are breaking the law. If somebody is working without permit, there needs to be stop order, fine, go to court, double the fine, whatever they needs to do, and pay their, their fair share of their ignorance. But doesn't mean you have the right of way to treat them with utter disrespect. When you have a staff telling people, you people, and that's on tape, telling people, you people, no, that's not the right thing to do. Training, we need training for these staff.
So Mayor, is there, in the instance of something like this, do we have a protocol in place where a person, it's documented that an employee was treating someone because of their race or ethnicity? Is there a protocol in place when that's brought to the attention of the city of how we move forward with that and how that employee is
Yes.
conducted?
Some of this, again, personnel matters. If you want to be briefed in greater detail in executive session where some of these things are standing, more than willing to do that.
So that would be great. I just want to know if there was an overall protocol. If we don't have it,
yes,
should
there is
have
a
it?
protocol where everything comes in, everything is evaluated, everything is followed up on.
And is there, like in the employee handbook, where can I guess essentially what I know, where we could find that so we would know. We would find what the protocol is. Is it the employee handbook or a city charter?
It's an employee handbook.
It's an employee handbook?
It's employee handbook. It's all the policies and procedures, including discipline.
Okay.
Workplace violence.
Workplace violence, the whole, and the workplace violence is a separate document, but all employees, when they're on board, get the copy of the handbook and the workplace violence memo and related documents.
Okay, so, I'll review the employee handbook, and if there's not something that speaks to specifically to treat to racism, I think we should explore having that added since we're here and this has occurred. Mr. Williams?
As a person of color, it's very difficult, I find it, to sit here and not share my comments on the situations. Responding specifically to this instance that Mr. Mulligan brought forward, I appreciate his manner of intentionality to addressing what he has identified as a long-term, just ongoing of some partial treatment to certain members of our community. I can say for myself, wanting to see that those incidences is something that I was requesting, as has a lot of members of the council, so that we were giving deference to the members of that department. But I would have to agree, if staffing falls within the mayor's purview, which is above question, I think if we continue to see these instances, that does call into question the responses. And I don't think that is an improper thing to say. I can only imagine the difficulty of that job, but sincerely, if we have members of our community who are identifying that they are feeling targeted, I think that is something that we need to make sure has the appropriate workflow adjustments, because if these issues continue to present in our community and we have nothing to justify putting in place any remedies, then we are liable to that as well. And to Mr. Mulligan's point, we have to do something differently. I know we are in the process, or there are 2 additional code enforcement officers that are onboarding or have already joined our ranks, and sincerely, I want to ensure our community that we are presenting the best able-bodied members to put forth that good work. Code enforcement is an important job, but sincerely, the perception of this existing is an issue in of itself. So I would confidently give deference to the mayor in these situations, and agreeing when to see it outlined in the handbook. But sincerely, if we are continued to see these, not just in the paper, but just in our lived experience presented with these issues, something different needs to happen.
So Ms. Rivera, how would you like to move forward with this particular? You heard some suggestions at the table. The mayor said, about forwarding information to him.
Well, I've been doing it, and I now started to copy the entire council, so my intention is to continue to do that, and to make that aware, those information that I'm receiving, everybody is aware of it, the council and the mayor.
But what you asked was, what could we do as a council? So what resolution?
Well, I mean, the mention of the handbook, the employee handbook, we can look at that and maybe look at strengthening it, if that is within our jurisdiction.
Well, I think
we can look at it to strengthen it and able to help address these concerns. I don't know if I think we can. Well, we have to look at it and see where we stand in terms of that.
I think we can at least offer suggestions,
Yes.
especially if our constituents are being impacted by that. And I would circle back to say that overall, we should have training for all of our employees, new, old, and especially those who are moving into leadership roles, where they're now going to be actually interacting with the public that much more. It's just very important how we handle it, because the people that are on the street actually reflect the city, and we want the city to be reflected in the best manner possible.
So I just want to make it very clear. I mean, the 911 call is very clear.
Yes.
We don't need to transcribe that.
No.
We don't need to share a transcript within ourselves on that.
No.
Listen to the 911 call and you will know exactly what is going on and where it came from. The passion within the conversation with that call. So those are the things that needs to be addressed.
Right.
If it happens with one group, it's going to happen across. And if we don't stop it, it's going to spread the entire city.
I agree. And we got another email. I think you all got it from the owner of the motel.
Yes.
So, more of the same. Yes, Ms. Patrick.
Well, I think the mayor also had mentioned that we could see what has happened during executive session, if we wanted to call for an executive session today.
Oh, well, we're going to go into executive session, so we are going to be recessed and we can revisit that. I just want to make sure that that executive session discussion will deal with the current incident that has happened.
Right.
I want to make sure that we have something in place that deals with preventing it in the future or addressing anything that has happened for that. So we should do something overall and not just, end it with that situation and hope it doesn't happen again.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to put some of the training into the budget that was discussed the other evening.
Yes.
That you and I attended a couple of years ago with the rest of the staff.
Yes, yes. Mr. Rivera, Mr. Farley.
So just a question regarding to the employee handbook. Is that part of the union negotiation as part of the employee handbook or the procedures?
Contracts may reference the employee handbook, but they're not specifically part of union negotiations typically.
Okay, so overall, you just reference the employee handbook, but not specific paragraph or sections.
Correct. But
Okay.
discrimination against protected class is wrong, protected.
Yep, we all aware of that, man. Thank you.
Mr. Farley, did you have something you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, I was going to say, again, we spoke about this our last budget cycle, and I was saying that we need to have this training in place for all city employees. And it wasn't met, we didn't reach a consensus around at this table. So now I think that, and the record will reflect that, if anyone needs a refresher, I will certainly do that for you, to bring up that meeting in particular where I brought this up. And now, these are the things that happen when we don't address these issues on an institutional level. And then what we can do, and I agree with the mayor that certain conversations should happen within executive session, especially when we're talking about being interpersonal. I will also say that I don't think that anyone is telling city employees, hey, this is acceptable behavior and go do it. I don't think that that's happening. What I think that is, if we are not being proactive and intentional, and this is why we have these conversations in a very circular way, and they almost don't go anywhere, because it's like we're not calling it exactly what it is, and we're using like other like terminology to like soften it, like it's racism. It exists in every system. It exists in the system that we are in, and none of us are above it or more holier than thou, where we might not intentionally or unintentionally perpetuate it. So if we know that that's a problem, then we can't just now when something comes out, throw our hands up in outrage around it. We had an opportunity to address this, and there is a level of frustration from me because I was here saying that we need to do this, and it wasn't. I didn't get a consensus for the council, and now I feel like it's again reactive and somewhat disingenuous to respond in kind now. I just feel like this is something that we need to do. I know our police, when they were here reporting, they had, I believe it was a grant that was allowing them to do some training, and that's not happening right now. So either we're going to put some structures in place to minimize this type of thing happening, or we can see it happening. And then when we do things like paint Black Lives Matter in front of City Hall, then you wonder why you have a bunch of really ticked off residents saying, no, they don't. And it all seems performative because it's not about our beliefs, our policies, and our practices. It's about our speech. And that is unacceptable. And that really impacts people's lives and their livelihood. People are out on a job working to feed their family, and they're concerned that they're going to get snatched up or something like that. That's not a reality that is shared amongst all of us. But it shouldn't have to be shared amongst all of us for us to act on it. So away from the incident, I think that I believe that things are being addressed in that incident. Institutionally, we need to do something about that. So I'm suggesting, and I'll talk about it when we go to the budget piece, that we put things in place.
So let me just correct one thing. We did put money in for the anti-racism training.
Yes.
And once the council puts money in the budget, it's our responsibility, it's then the responsibility of the administration to make sure that happens. So as a council, we did what we should do. There was a request for anti-racism training, we put it in the budget. This year it was removed because it did not get used, but I want to just clear that up. So once we put it in the budget, we create legislation, it's not up to us to implement. So I just want to be clear on that one. Mr. Williams?
I just want to be clear that we did not have a consensus among the council about that.
It got to the budget, that's the bottom line.
Well, we did.
But it got in the budget, so that's what I'm going to say.
Money was put in the budget. We also had the option to work with our insurance company, which was going to provide some for basically no cost. And there was just, I want to say debate, but couldn't agree upon who was going to provide some of the training, and also became an issue in terms of scheduling members of the council to attend the event.
But we're talking about training for the staff. That's what we're talking about right now. And that money in the budget was for the staff training. And so I think a couple of things we have to wrap up what we're going to do and how we're going to move forward with this. We've reviewed the history of what's happened. And now it is how do we move forward? I'm sorry, Ms. Patrick, do you have a point you want to
No,
make?
I just wanted to say that I didn't think that there wasn't consensus around the table around doing this kind of training. I think that we all did agree to that, and I don't think that...
We could just go back and watch the video and then so we don't have to
Are you talking about like last week when we had...
No, we're not talking, we're talking about the last time this topic came up. So, but rather than try to leave it to memory, it is all recorded. So we can go back and look and see those who
We had disagreement around this table about having the staff have anti-racism training.
We can go back and look at it. That is what's being said, and we can go back to that. And I really don't, we said that we're going to stop at 6, 7 o'clock in order to get to our budget meeting. We are 6 minutes to that deadline. Is there something you just need to say?
Certainly, yeah. Really quickly, that we won't have to go back and unpack all that. That's fine, I'll move on. But we need to be clear moving forward that we're using words, and during that conversation we were using words very interchangeably that are not interchangeably. So in other words, bias training is not the same as anti-racism training. So those are important distinctions to make, and I just want us to make, so therefore when we have these conversations, we're doing it from an informed place.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we will move forward in terms of even discussing putting that in the budget. That was item number 5, and the remaining items are all in executive session. So at this point in time, I would ask for a motion to enter into executive session. So
Second.
all's in favor?
Aye.
We're into executive session. Members of the public will have to leave.